Today, we're going to be playing in the woods a little bit with a brand new knife. This is the new Bark River Bravo Necker. Very big departure for Bark River, coming across a new design of knife. It is a neck knife. Okay, it's really designed as a neck knife with a sheath to carry it. It is a relatively compact, small knife. To give you an idea, here's my hand picking up the Necker. Okay, it is a small, compact knife. Okay, but it's going to do a big job. Bravo Necker is a departure because it's one of the knives that's now, first time I think Mike has gone and built a knife in the lines of the traditional or the modern style of, for lack of a better word, tactical knives. It has removable scales, powder coat on the spine and so forth of the blade, and still maintaining the Bark River convex grind, razor sharp, intelligent design. Powder coat not on, if you notice, not on the cutting surface of the knife. The powder coat has been removed when they put the convex grind on, so it can be razor sharp and not sacrifice any cutting ability in order to give you the powder coat. What we're going to do today is we're going to take down a tree. Give you an idea of the tree we're working on. This one right here, it's a relatively good sized tree. And we're going to demonstrate another technique used for taking down trees when you don't have a large knife. If, for example, you're caught out in the woods and the only thing you happen to have is your neck knife, you need to have a technique to do that. So the technique we're going to use is point first batoning. We talked about that in the last video I did when we took down the tree with the Blackjack 125. Point first batoning is a technique you're not going to use a lot. You're not going to do it often, but it's good to know. Like anything else, no knowledge is wasted. So the principle behind point first batoning is to actually take the knife and push the point of it into the tree. And using the baton, drive it in to the fatter section of the blade, actually further if you can, and by wiggling the blade back and forth, you start cutting around the perimeter of the bottom of the tree. It is efficient, it is effective. Like I said, not the first choice. Best choice would be an axe. Sometimes you don't have one. This tree is a little bit too big to simply bend over, and I want this pole. So we're going to start with our point first batoning. Simply setting the point of the knife against the tree, perpendicular or parallel to the ground, and simply driving into the tree with your baton. Okay, driving it in, hitting the spine of the knife. Now obviously it takes a good knife to take this beating, but it's not really abusive on a knife if the knife is designed well with that in mind. Bark River knives are designed to be used, not sit at home in a drawer and look pretty. So these are built to do it. This is a full tang knife, a full tang construction, so you should have no problem doing it. We've driven it in. I simply grab the handle and work back and forth along the cutting surface, and you can actually feel the cutting edge cutting into the tree as I wiggle it back out. I've made one cut. I'm going to move in, same height roughly, and make another one and drive it and continue to work my way around the tree. I usually do it in quadrants. Okay, I'll start, I'll start at, I'll go 12, 3, 6, 9, and then 1, 4, 7, 10, and then work my way around the tree, making sure that I've worked my way around to get the cut. Simply work the blade over to open up the channel again. And the first 4 cuts are generally the hard ones. But once you've got them in, you're working downhill from there. Okay, do the 6 o'clock. Move out of the way here. Ideally, if I was doing this video in a studio, I wouldn't have a tree anyway, but I wouldn't have nearly the obstructions around preventing me from getting in there to do it, being in the way of the camera. Or I guess I wasn't doing my Les Stroud imitation of filming my own adventures in the woods. I'd have someone to move the camera around with me so you can see what's happening, and they can edit out when I'm trying to move and shuffle around. But we don't, so we make the best of what we got. Now, the last video did elicit some responses to me from people. Hey Reed, why'd you take down a perfectly good tree? Well, fact is, I know I was taking down a perfectly good tree. you're one of those people that was upset, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm fixing to do it again. Well, there's a reason. It's not that I'm not a responsible woodsman. I think I'm a very responsible woodsman. I recognize and realize that trees are plentiful here. If you remember last week, we took down with the 125 all the work I had to go through to get that tree to the ground. That was because it was running into stuff in the sky. There wasn't a sky hook or a helicopter holding it up. Those were the other trees surrounding it. And those trees surrounding it, you know, it's very dense here. There's, I would say, probably 5, 6, 7,000 trees in this small grove I'm working in right now. So 1 or 2 isn't really going to make a difference to the negative, and actually much more to the positive, because in addition to the forest being a place for trees, it's there also for other creatures. I mean, the fact of the matter is, trees are food. You know, they're a food source. And there's something called a browse line. I don't know if you've ever heard the term. What that refers to is where the edible stuff is for the animals that live in the area. And, I mean, this stuff you ain't going to eat. Sorry, it doesn't happen. The reality is, what you're looking for is the small branches and twigs and leaves and seed pods and so forth that come off of these trees, and that's what the animals around here eat. As the animal gets taller, he can obviously eat stuff higher up off the ground, but we don't have a lot of rabbits around here. Rabbits can't climb trees. They can't get up high, so they're stuck eating what's close to the ground. And in here, because the cover is so heavy, as you can see, it's nice going right in. Working right in, work it back and forth. The cover is so dense in the summertime, when these trees are in bloom or in full leaf, that there's no light getting down here. It's too dark to film. So none of this stuff on the ground grows. If you look at the ground here, this ground is all just dirt. There's no plant life here. Well, that means there's nothing for the rabbits to eat and the smaller animals to eat. Also no natural cover for them. So the next thing is you look for deer to eat. Well, fact is, the browse line in this section is so high, I don't think deer... There's some trails here which indicate the deer go through here, kind of like a highway back to the swamp, which is back over here. But other than that, there's not much. And because of that, there's no deer here. This is the UP. And here in the UP, we don't have a lot of giraffes. So a browse line that's 20, 25 feet up off the ground isn't doing anybody any good.